Good afternoon, I hope you're well. It's autumn, which means GoPro is releasing some new cameras, and in addition to the Hero 8, which was announced earlier this week, the MAX 360 camera has also been announced and is open for pre-orders. So today I'm going to be running through everything you need to know before making the decision whether to buy one or not, coming right up. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to talk about with the Max is the design changes they've implemented since the previous iteration, the Fusion. One of the main differences is the size and weight. It's now coming in at 154 grams compared to the Fusion, which was 220, and it looks to be significantly smaller, more similar in size to the GoPro Hero 7 and 8. The other main change is, again, similar to the GoPro Hero 8, they've included the mounting on the camera, so it's got the flip out fingers like the GoPro Hero 8, and as you can see, that is a much better solution. The next thing that's a really big one for me in terms of usability is that they've included a front-facing touchscreen on the camera that not only can you use to frame up your shot and see yourself when you're vlogging, but you can also cycle through the menus and use the presets and also play back video. So that's a massive one for me because the Insta360 One X, which I currently own, doesn't have that feature. It's got a tiny screen, and when you're in bright sunshine or just outdoors, you can barely see the screen at all. So when I've been skiing or snowboarding, it's been pretty much unusable in terms of trying to work out what mode you're in on the camera. So having a proper touch color screen on the front should be a real benefit to this camera and should make it so much more usable for anyone using it for action sports. So number 2, video resolution and frame rates that you can get out of this camera. It's 5.6K, which is nothing special in terms of video resolution for 360 cameras. We've seen higher resolutions on 360 cameras recently, and that 5.6K relates to the spherical image rather than when you crop it into 16:9 like a standard format. They're saying that when you put it into hero mode, which just uses the front-facing camera as a 16:9 frame, you're going to get 1440p from it, so it's not 4K, and that quality is, it's going to be interesting to see whether it's actually good enough or not, but you're not going to be getting the same quality from this as you would from the GoPro Hero 8, for example, when you've got that set at 4K. And in terms of frame rates, you're only getting 30 frames a second, or when it's in the hero mode, you're getting 60 frames a second at 1440p or 1080p. So again, it's nothing mind-blowing. I think when Insta360 replaced the One X, I suspect that they will provide both a higher resolution camera and higher frame rates. So it'll be interesting to see if that comes out in the near future, how much better that is. I've pre-ordered this camera, so when I get it at the end of October, I'm going to be doing a full review on it. But one thing I will be checking is whether actually the resolution, sometimes the resolution, the figure doesn't matter so much. It's what image quality they're actually getting from that resolution. So it'll be interesting to see how good the image quality is once I get to test it. But in terms of just pure specs, there's nothing mind-blowing there. So number 3, I wanted to talk about the key features of this camera. So GoPro has introduced Max Hypersmooth, which seems to be the same as the GoPro Hero 8 in terms of its stabilization. As usual, GoPro's just using clever wording to make it sound like this is something new or different. I'm not sure actually whether it's any different to the GoPro Hero 8, and it's hard to tell at this stage how different it is to either the GoPro Hero 7 or the GoPro Fusion, the previous 360 camera. So it'll be interesting to see once I get it in my hands. I'm going to do some tests comparing it to the Insta360 One X, which has the flow state stabilization. But from the promo videos, the stabilization looks really good. It's just always hard to tell whether they've added anything in post-production to those. The other big feature that they showed in their video was the Max TimeWarp, which again is nothing new. We've had something similar called Time Shift on the Insta360 One X. Essentially it allows you to pan the camera around whilst creating a hyperlapse. So again, it's a great feature to have. So for photos, they've got this mode called Power Pano, which allows you to create a 270-degree photo from a single image, which does look pretty awesome from the promo pictures they've put of people snowboarding and things. Again, something I want to test once I get the camera, but yeah, that looks like a really cool feature and something that will be really useful. They show in part of the video someone snowboarding down a mountain, and they call it Max Super View, which they say is their widest lens ever. So again, that'll be really interesting to see how that compares to Super View on a GoPro Hero 8. It's shooting 16.6 megapixel stills. That again is when it's in 360 mode. When you put it into Hero mode, it's just taking 5.5 megapixel stills, and then it's got something called a Power Pano mode, which creates 270-degree panoramic photos, and when it's in that mode, it's shooting at 6.2 megapixels. So again, it will be very interesting to see how good these photos look, because once again, the resolution doesn't look anything special compared to other things that are already on the market, like the 360 One X. The next thing I wanted to cover is the audio on this camera. Now, they have put 6 microphones on this camera, and they're saying that you get 360-degree spatial audio from those 6 microphones. So potentially this could be an amazing camera for vlogging and for just general action sports, because it's picking up that sound in stereo from 6 different microphones. So again, something I want to test when I get it. But if this is as good as they say it is, this would be a big step forward for consumer 360 cameras, because the audio has to date been pretty awful on 360 cameras. So the Insta360 One X, for example, is pretty poor quality audio coming out of that, and the Fusion was the same. So this could be a real game changer for 360 cameras at this price point. So next I wanted to talk about workflow. This is always something that puts people off 360 cameras, because there's essentially an extra step in your workflow. You need to create videos by reframing them if you're using them for a traditional video. So when you use the footage alongside other cameras, you need to first actually edit the footage either on your phone or on a desktop app, then take it into Premiere Pro, After Effects, whatever you're using to edit, and then start editing with other camera footage. One thing that I've noticed that not many people are talking about is the fact that this camera will be using the H.265 codec rather than H.264, which is good news. Essentially that means that you're going to be getting a lot more information from the camera in a more compressed format. So it allows for a higher bit rate and more colour information and a higher quality video overall. So you should hopefully be getting 10-bit colour from this camera. But again, something I need to test once I get it to see how good the image quality is and how good the colours are. And it'll be interesting to see how it compares to the GoPro Hero 8, which I've also pre-ordered, and yeah, I'll be doing a full review on. So in terms of workflow, one thing that the Insta360 One X was always very good at was they had an excellent app that was easy to reframe video in. You could pan the camera around, you could use pivot points, you could do all sorts of stuff and then export it out as a 16:9 video. The Fusion was a complete nightmare because it had two SD cards that it recorded to, one for each lens. You then had to take it onto a desktop software and then it's stitched together, and then you could use the footage. This camera simplifies that process by having just one SD card, and from the video that they showed on the promo stuff, it's showing a similar kind of app to the 360 One X, which is only good news for GoPro users. And if they sort this software out properly, it could be really, really good, because you've got the user interface of the touchscreen on the front, and then you've got potentially a really good user interface on the mobile phone app. And if it all works as they show it working, it should be really good and a real step forward for GoPro. Next thing I wanted to talk about was the durability of this camera. Now, this is something that I've found with 360 cameras so far has been a real downside to them, that they're just not as durable as your traditional action camera. So a GoPro Hero 7 or the new 8 is going to be much more durable than any 360 camera, just simply because the 360 cameras have bulbous protruding lenses on both sides of them. Now, GoPro's trying to get around this by, one, offering the camera as waterproof down to 5 meters, so 16 feet. So that's about half as much as a GoPro Hero 8, for example, which is great because if you're skiing or snowboarding with it, you don't need to worry about getting it wet if you drop it in the snow. And similarly, you can use it for scuba diving and snorkeling down to 5 meters. And just generally being able to use it around water without having to worry too much about it and not have a case for it is a really great thing that GoPro do really well. They're showing on the website that it comes boxed with 2 lens caps, so additional lens caps that go over the lenses to protect those lenses from getting scratched. That's a really interesting bit of packaging, and I think is something that is only a good thing, really. Something I've always been concerned about with the Insta360 One X while I'm using it for like mountain biking and things like that is that it will just get clipped by like a bit of tree or something while you're going along the trail, and that's your camera gone if the lenses get scratched badly enough. So it's good that they're trying to think about how they can protect those lenses and increase the durability of the camera. I'm not sure whether the lenses are replaceable. It'll be interesting to see once I get it whether it's something that you can actually replace the lenses. They haven't said anything about that in the marketing materials, so it might be that you can't do that and they just include the caps. Maybe you can get replacement caps, but again, it'll be interesting to see how durable those caps are, if they're easy to get on and off, and how the stitching works with them on, whether it causes any problems. I know the case for the Insta360 One X, the venture case, works pretty well for the stitching, but the case that came for diving was the stitching was a little bit iffy at times. So it's good not having to have a big case, but I want to see how those caps are going to work in real world tests. So that's something I'll be bringing in my review video at the start of November. So a couple of things I haven't touched on yet. This camera is using the GP1 chip and processing unit that is also used in the GoPro Hero 8. Seems like these two cameras share quite a lot of internal stuff actually, and although GoPro's calling it like Max Hypersmooth and Max TImewarp, I suspect a lot of the software and hardware is pretty similar actually between the two cameras. But essentially having that GP1 chip means that it's going to be easier for them to do updates to this camera compared to the Fusion, which only really had one major update or 2 major updates during its 2-year release life. I think this camera is going to be having updated firmware more often, which can only be a good thing really. So another feature that this camera has that the previous Fusion didn't have is the ability to do live streaming at 1080p. I'm not sure how many people use this feature, but It's a nice one to have. This camera is going to be priced at $479.99 in the UK, and that translates to $499 in dollars or 529 in euros. So it's going to be quite a bit more expensive than the Insta360 One X, which I think is about $399. Might be even cheaper now, and it is a bit cheaper than the Fusion was when it came out. I think that was about $550, or maybe even $599. So yeah, they're pricing it fairly competitively. I mean, compared to a traditional action camera like the GoPro Hero 8 that's just come out, that's being priced at $399. So it's about $100 more or £100 more than that camera. And it's available for pre-order now, and it's coming at the end of October. So I think the shipping date when I did my pre-order was the 25th of October. So hopefully I should have it in my hands by the end of October, and I can do a full review of it for you guys. I hope this video has been helpful for you. If you do want to pre-order the camera, I've put some links in the description below. It's available on Amazon for pre-order, and it's also available at GoPro's own website, so I've put both links in the description below. If you like this video, please do give it a like and subscribe to the channel and click the bell for notifications so you see my future videos. I'm hoping to bring lots more content over the coming weeks, including full reviews of this camera and the GoPro Hero 8. I am a new channel, so every subscriber, every like, every comment helps me. So yeah, do comment down below if you've got any questions about the camera or anything you particularly want to know when I review it. And yeah, if you have been watching to the end, thank you so much. It really helps my channel grow, just getting watch time. So yeah, I look forward to seeing you in the next video.